Hey everyone, and welcome back to Jesse's Shed. Today we're going to work on the K1200R again, going to get the oil done on it. I've bought a couple of cars since I started doing this bike and I want to get this thing out so I can start working on those as well. I'm still waiting on the oil for the final drive, so all I can get done at the moment is the oil and oil filter for the engine. We'll get all of that finished and push the bike out, get something else in here. So far we've done the air filter, we've done the coolant, the plugs behind it, fixed up that screen, changed the headlights back to the H7 so they work properly, unlike those HIDs. We've drained out the brake fluid and flushed it. Also done the clutch fluid over here, comes out here. Now it's time for that oil. Now we've got one reservoir here and got an oil filter and then a drain underneath. Gonna get that done, and then after that all I've got left is the final drive and the shaft drive, but I'm waiting on that final drive oil, so gonna have to do for now. Once that's done, I can get this bike out of here. Everything else is cosmetic and all the parts are off it, so I can paint those up without it in here, and I can get another car in and start working on it. So let's get this oil done.
So you want to warm the bike right up and then shut it off. Jump underneath and get that T50 Torx bolt. It's the bolt is right at the bottom of the sump. Make sure you've got a really good fit because these strip really easily. Mine's not been undone in a long time, so I've just got to hope that it cracks well.
Hey, cracked. So now's where you put your drain pan underneath and what do you know? Doesn't fit. That's even on the center stand, it still doesn't fit. But there's a company that specifically designed their products to fit these. They're called Tupperware. Again, just don't let your wife know. Look at that, it turns. It fits right in between the stands. It's perfect. It's like they built them with these bikes in mind, and it's any bike. It doesn't matter if it's a car, a bike, something with oil. Tupperware design in mind.
So the oil's not actually looking as bad as I thought it would. It is black, it's not good. But this plug's only got a little bit of swarf on it, a little bit of metal residue. There's no chunks like teeth or anything coming off. It's a bit hard to focus here, sorry, but yeah, it's overall looking good. The oil's draining out nice and cleanly. We'll get that cleaned up. We'll get the plug cleaned up, get a new washer for it, put that back in, and then get a move on to that oil filter and see what it's looking like. So here's the plug all cleaned up. This is what it should look like. It's magnetic. You just get a really clean rag, clean it off. We've got a new washer that's going to go on it, and then you stick it back in the sump. Always put it back in before you start on anything else, because if you leave it out and start the bike, you're going to have trouble. So to get the oil filter off, if you've got a K&N like I do, there's a 14mm nut or bolt on the end of it. You've first got to remove this gear shift. There's just these two bolts here. Undo them. That'll let you get the spring off, and the whole stand and the mechanism will come out of the way. Once you've done that, you can drop it down and you can get to this this bolt on the end of the oil filter. Now you'll see in this time lapse here, I tried every fitting that I had to get this thing off. These oil filters are supposed to be done up to where they touch, and then you do them about another third of a turn past that. So virtually hand tight. This one was just on ridiculously tight. Even with the pliers, you're going to see after this, I completely destroyed this oil filter getting it off. And it's not my first time doing one of these. It was just completely and utterly jammed, and it should never have been done up that tight. So here's that filter. Every side of it's crushed. you don't need to push on something that hard to get it off when it's just on hand tight. It's crazy. It should never have been put on like that. I don't like these K&Ns, whether it was the seal that got sticky and wouldn't come off, or the last person just put it on too tight. I prefer to use genuine parts for the oil filters. At least use a Ryco, and yeah, it'll just come off easily. So this is going in the bin and we're getting a new one. Here's the service kit. It's made up of an oil filter, a new washer for the sump plug, air filter, and new plugs. The plugs are an iridium plug, not like the copper ones that came out of it, and the air filter, it's exactly the same. This oil filter, being genuine, it doesn't have the nut on the end of it like that K&N one does, but I have found in the past that they're a lot better. If you're going to go aftermarket, at least get a Ryco. The plugs here, just for comparison, the iridium one, if you look at the electrode, it's a bit hard to see, but it's a much smaller electrode, but it's a lot hotter spark that comes out of them. Don't sort of cheap out and get those copper ones, because they'll give you flat spots, dead spots, rough starting, and knocking and fouling, things like that. For the effort it takes to get these plugs out, just put the right ones in to start with, and you won't have to worry about it. So we've put the plugs back in, put that breather tube back on. Now it's time to go over here and drain this reservoir. You'll see that hose coming up. You've got to pull that out and then slide it down underneath the frame there. It's a little bit tricky. You just got to maneuver it around, and then it'll drain this reservoir for you. It's also your level indicator. So once we fill it back up, we put that back in, and I'll show you where to look for the min and max marks on it. Like I said, it's a bit fiddly. Just work it down, and once you get it below the bottom of that tank, it'll start draining out. I recommend doing this before you do the rest of it. I sort of forgot about it and did it afterwards, but it takes ages to drain out because it's such a small tube. So yeah, do it first, give yourself plenty of time, and then it should be finished by the time you do the rest of it. So I finished draining it. The cap's back on here. Once you put that back on, you can fill it up. I'm using a Castrol Power Racing. It's the 5W44T. That's what's recommended in my book. It can be different for different countries, so check your book. So we're going to fill that in the top of the reservoir here. You'll find the reservoir will fill up. You've actually then got to run the bike to get it to suck some down and then fill the rest of it up. Once you've warmed the bike up and let it cool back down, your oil needs to be about 3/4 up on the min and max there. Alright, so I've got the cap back on. Let's start it up, let it suck down that oil, and let's see where we're at. These are new plugs, new coolant, and new oil since it's been started, so hopefully, fingers crossed, it's okay. Okay, I'm really happy with that. That started straight off the bat. It idled well. The oil, you can see it's just over halfway, so I'll probably put about another 100 mils into that. But yes, super happy. It started straight up, it idled well. This has got 100,000 Ks on it, and if this was a jack bike, I don't think it'd be running like this. So yeah, they're a pretty bulletproof engine. Now I can get it out of here, get another car in, start servicing those, and then I'm going to do the cosmetic stuff off to the side where it's not in the way. I'm going to do the paint, and let me know what you think of the paint. I'm still tossing up whether to change the colour or keep it as it was. I think I'll try and match it, but I have always wanted a green one of these, so we might see what we can come up with. As always, thanks for watching. If it did help you, please like and subscribe. Always doing new videos, always up for a new challenge. So if you've got anything you want me to work on, let me know. Happy to buy it and give it a go. Thanks again. Bye.